Welcome to Truth Over Belief, 2008.
As we have noted in Part 1, beliefs can have devastating effects. And so if you just think of the logic of what has happened, you have a group of believers, religious believers, who therefore believe that there is a God, a true God, a creator of everything. Now just think of the situation. The very Son of God could be standing directly in front of them. Now would it be logical to suddenly treat him like trash, spit in his face, flog him, and then proceed to crucify him? Is there any logic in that? Of course the answer is no. I mean, here they are, worshipping a God, believing in a God, yet they're willing to risk, truly taking the risk of possibly torturing and murdering the Son of that God himself. Even though there he was standing in front of them, thus giving them the opportunity to investigate this man called Jesus Christ. So what we've run into here is behavior that does not make any sense at all. And so it's like promoting a positive, and just after doing so, shooting it down. In other words, placing the value of belief above and beyond the value of truth always leads to error. And this gives a fine example of just how stupid the outcome can be when you place the I mean, could it be any worse than this? When you place the value of a belief above the value of truth itself. And so here we are, having trouble accepting truths that are of a grand scale. But it gets worse. Today, people are even further from the truth than they were in the days of Jesus Christ. How is that so? Well, like I've said, truth is a singularity, meaning it is everywhere, right? Therefore, it is a huge singularity. Now, if you're not connected to that huge singular truth, you're stuck with the next best thing instead, which is duality or division. If division is all that you have available to hang on to, then you have a problem, because whatever the two components are, they tend to fly apart. And this will lead to one country being at war with another country, instead of shaking hands in common agreement. The rich will become richer, the poor will become poorer. Marriages, instead of remaining singular, will divide and fall apart instead. And so problems of this nature continue to grow even worse over time. As an example of this, if one is an actor, one is not speaking the truth. And so if one practices this acting function for a long time period, one gets used to displacing oneself from the singularity of truth. Thus the odds are high that if such a person is married, then this marriage will also fall apart, due to this ongoing practice of displacing oneself from the singularity of truth, having infected one's behavioral nature. As I have said, because of this division, people are falling further and further away from the singularity of truth. Thus, the majority's response to a truthful person's words today will be a response that is far worse than the response that Jesus Christ received in his day. Today, the truth will simply pass directly through the receiver's mind, as though not a single word was even spoken. Now, if you recall back in Part 1, we see that someone who is of Jesus Christ's stature today would be classified as a person who is in a psychotic mind state and thus is experiencing hallucinations and delusions. Thus, if you speak truths of a grand scale, as did Jesus, then you are to be regarded as an insane person, or at least partially insane. This insane response is to be expected, since the singularity of truth now sits far beyond recognition. But there are others, a minority, who chose a different path. In their case, they decided not to stick to the limitations of mere beliefs and disbeliefs, and so they continued to move closer to the singularity of truth. Now this minority is getting very close to that singularity of truth, and so this becomes a threat to Satan. As you recall, God supports truths, and Satan supports anything but truths. And so if you tap into the truths of a grand scale, you also have the potential to see Satan's nasty plans. In other words, we are here on our side of reality, and he is over there on the other side, which is also part of the complete reality, the complete truth. And so if the axis of your mind is pointing toward the complete truth, then you're going to tap into the other side, whether you like it or not. And then Satan comes along and proceeds to make an absolute fool of you, thus to prevent you from spreading any truths concerning his nasty plans as well as his present brutal activities. And so what is it that this Satan character does? What does he do? He performs negative miracles. What is a negative miracle? Well, let's look at the positive side first. Even on the other side, the holistic side of reality, there's both a positive and negative side. On the positive side we have God, and on the negative side there is Satan. Now concerning these two planes of reality, the holistic side that I've just mentioned extends across all time, and our relativistic side is confined to the present time only. The two planes of reality intersect. At that point of intersection is where events occur. Concerning a godly miracle, thus a positive miracle, it only seems miraculous because the cause of the event is in the holistic plane of reality, which extends across all time. Thus, it is only the effect that can be seen by you here in this relativistic plane of reality, since this plane of reality is confined to the present time only. Thus you cannot see across time, and thus you cannot see the cause of the event. Thus the event seems miraculous. And so the Red Sea divides, the fish multiply, the bread multiplies, the blind are given sight, the dead are brought back to life, and so forth. And in each of these cases it seems miraculous simply because you cannot see the cause of each of these events. A negative miracle, on the other hand, is basically the same, except in this case the intentions are negative, they're bad, they're evil, and the source of them is from the negative side of the holistic plane of reality. And so Satan can do some really nasty things to people, since he can subject them to all sorts of forms of torture, with many of these forms of torture being thousands of times greater than that which is required to kill a person, while at the same time, via the so-called miracle, he keeps these victims alive. If anyone reports such instances of grand truths, meaning their mind being tampered with, their body being tampered with, events surrounding them being tampered with, agony of immense scale being experienced by them, and so forth, this is by no means believed to be true by others, because the description of their torture seems far too extreme and bizarre to be true in the first place. Thus, in an instant, the truth is being dismissed as a farce, a belief is being placed above an actual truth. Thus, by the psychiatrists, the person is believed to be nothing but a person who is detached from reality, when in actual fact, the person is connected to both planes of reality, relativistic and holistic. How much more in touch with reality can you get? Meanwhile, the psychiatrists claim that they are in touch with reality. However, if you ask the psychiatrists to describe the mechanics of reality, particle-wave duality, action at a distance, entangled pairs, what's the reasoning behind the Lorentz-Fitzgerald contraction, the time dilation, peculiar velocity addition equation, and so forth, the psychiatrists don't have a clue. So here they are claiming to be in touch with reality. If you're in touch with something, obviously you know what it is. But the psychiatrists do not. They do not understand the so-called reality that they claim to be in touch with, because in actual fact, they're just in touch with a form of global conformity, not reality itself.